Howdy folks, this is Mike with Play More Games, and today we got a quick unboxing for you. BCS Arracourt. For the eagle-eyed among you, you might notice that this is sitting on top of Pacific War, and just below we are all set up and ready to go for Pearl. So I'm going to try that later today. Unfortunately, I was not able, I had to cancel my plans to go to GMT East, which was very disappointing, but this showed up in the mail today and I am excited to check it out. So let's rip the shrink and see what's inside. Alright, now I may have failed, I can't remember, I feel like I failed to properly give an introduction for this. This is the latest in the BCS Battalion Combat series from MMP and the Gamers. This is, again, the 5th title after last year's, or maybe it was even early this year, Panzer's Last Stand, covering the operations in Hungary in like early 45. So this is France 44, and if I'm not losing my mind, I think there's an upcoming title on the Yom Kippur War, but I might be losing my mind. Alright, so let's see what's inside. This is a one-mapper, which is the smallest of the games to date in terms of map size. Alright, so we have our delightful MMP inventory list. We have our game-specific rules, which clock in at 16 pages, and about 6 of that is designer notes. So it's really short. There's not a lot of game-specific information. The scenarios are small. There's some really small ones, so it is suggested that this is as good as entry point as any to the series. Here's a look at the charts and tables, of which there are plenty. And we have I think these are 5/8 counters. They're huge. Let's see. What is the official measurement? Oh, it's not on here. But yeah, these are much bigger. So and you can see, with only one sheet of units, it's a much smaller footprint game as well. Just in case you haven't played, here are these formation markers. It does use a modified chip pull system. These are unit markers, and this one right here is an HQ. You have all sorts of information like size, that's the yellow number there. Number of steps, I should say. Movement points, and then in red, I think means motorized. You have a quality value. I think they might use a different term for it, but higher is better. And then you have the formation bands, so blue. So when you pull this blue one here, you're going to activate all of the blue ones here. And I think Panzer's Last Stand, or maybe Blazing Chariots, was the first one to use formation bands. So you have support markers, objective markers. So it all fits on one counter sheet, which is nice and exciting. You have the rules themselves, which are much heftier at 48 pages. Let's see. We have a turn record chart for September 44. A terrain key, which again, I always say it, I always bring it up, but it's very nice within, this is in full color. Weather, replacement tables, so minimal information there, really straightforward stuff. We'll hold on to the map for a second. Here you have some BCS counters, which are steps, artillery points, oh this is upside down, fatigue, fresh or spent status. So we have charts, a second copy of those charts I showed before, and then we have a series support book, and this is kind of like a helpful assistant to learning the game, since the game itself does use some pretty unique concepts that you don't see in other games. Or I shouldn't say that you don't see it at all, but it does take some getting used to, I think, due to the scale. You're not necessarily looking to attrit your opponent as much as displace them and move them out of position. So let's get a look at the map here. Okay. Alright. So I'm going to dismount the camera, so we can zoom in a little closer. Alright. So here you see some forest terrain. You see the tracks, rivers, and roads. I mean, it's a beautiful map. It's what I call MMP standard artwork. So if you've played an OCS or Gamer's title, you know kind of what you're getting in for in terms of that. I would say that while it is beautiful, it is very functional as well. It's very easy to tell what's what. Okay, and that's the whole thing. You have German entry areas over here. You have what looks like an Allied and German objective marker. You have Allied entry points over here. But it is all on one map. So with one map and the larger counters, it is definitely as good as entry point as any to get into the BCS system. Alright, let me pack this up and we'll give you some final thoughts. Alright, that was a look at Arracourt, which is the newest in the BCS series. Thank you for checking it out with me. I am looking forward to trying it. I think there's 5 or 6 scenarios, including a couple of very small 4 or 5 turn scenarios. I think there's even like a 1 or 2 turn scenario, which makes digesting the game and the system a lot easier, especially since it is fairly unique. It just is unfortunate, the timing that it arrived, since I'm still trying to make my way through the Pacific War rules, and then I have the Vietnam game, the Great Battles of the American Civil War game. I have quite a few games that I want to work my way through, and I just don't know where I'm going to fit this in to the schedule. But I absolutely do want to fit it in at some point. So thanks for taking a look at it with me. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, hey, give me a shout. Let me know. Anyway, thanks again for watching. This is Mike. Play more games. Have a wonderful weekend.